Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all of the things. Hey, guess what? Somebody, a little birdie, said somewhere that Trent Dilfer, yes, Trent Dilfer, the Trent Dilfer who was a colossal failure in Tampa Bay, the Trent Dilfer that went over to Baltimore and won a Super Bowl because he just didn't mess up. That same Trent Dilfer that took over the Elite 11 passing camp where they bring in the top quarterbacks in the nation coming out of high school and put them through a whole bunch of training. The Trent Dilfer that 3 or 4 years ago now took over as head coach of a high school in Tennessee. Right? No shade to Tennessee. But if we were going to start ranking the states that have the best high school football, the states where the most talent exists in high school football, are we putting Tennessee high? Like, where would Tennessee fall in the pantheon of high school football around the country? We know that at any point in time, it's Florida, Georgia, Texas, right? It's those three for sure. Florida, Georgia, Texas, then probably California. Louisiana's great. Ohio's great. Illinois is surprisingly really good football. Lots of talent. How much out of Tennessee? I don't know the answer. I'm just talking, right? It was found out, or it is being rumored, that Trent Dilfer is up to be the new head coach at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. That's UAB for short. And I think that's great. And it's funny because my guys were talking about it last night, and one of them said, hey, I think this is a really good hire. Like, I thought this is a really good landing spot for him. And I couldn't help but think to myself, like, yeah, that's probably true. But what strikes me as odd is that Trent Dilfer is being considered for an FBS job with no college experience and with only limited high school coaching experience. I have more high school head coaching experience than Trent Dilfer does. I have more experience than he does. By the way, in states where football is way better, should I be able to go and get a job at the University of Alabama, Birmingham as the head coach? Like, what cachet does Trent Dilfer bring with him that says he has an ability to be a great college head football coach? Another friend of mine mentioned the fact that Hugh Freeze had a very similar rise where he was a high school coach and then jumped to college. But I don't remember Hugh Freeze and whether or not he got a head coaching job at the FBS level directly out of high school, directly from coaching high school. I believe, like Gus Malzahn, I believe that he got a position on a staff and then worked his way up. Maybe fast. It wasn't direct. I could be wrong. Again, I'm just talking. But what struck me as odd is that Trent Dilfer, the early returns, I've seen nobody say, well, how is Trent Dilfer going to get a coaching job with no college experience? See, when people were angling for Cadillac Williams to get the Auburn job, there were people saying, no, that would be completely and totally wrong because Cadillac Williams doesn't have any head coaching experience at the collegiate level other than what he just received in these last few games. while I said, okay, I could get it, it's Auburn. If your head coach is supposed to essentially be a CEO at the collegiate level, why couldn't Cadillac Williams do that job? Nope. Bring in Hugh Freeze. But I digress. Because, see, Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime, tried to make that leap. And go from high school to a college head coaching position. And he was told he didn't have enough experience. That coaching high school is not like coaching in college. So he went to the place that gave him the opportunity, Jackson State, an FCS program. An FCS program that had not been on top of their game in a while. And he went there and he was roasted. He was lambasted. People just could not get into their mind that Deion Sanders was going to be a head coach in college without any head coaching experience. They couldn't get it out of their head. Like, yo, how did he jump the queue? How did he jump over all of these other people who've paid their dues? Oh, this is a publicity stunt. He may never even coach a game at Jackson State. And then Deion, being Deion, came in talking hard, talking heavy, saying what they were going to do. And as he did that during the pandemic, and they played a spring season, they had some success, but they got beat. And when they got beat, everybody went on him. Oh, it's all talk, it's all bark, no bite. The Tigers are going to be the same old Tigers. And then, with an actual offseason and chance to recruit better, they came out and went 9-1 in the regular season, won the SWAC title, went to the Celebration Bowl. And it seemed like everybody was on Deion's tip now. Everybody was with them, except as soon as they lost to South Carolina State, a game that if they ran back the next day, Jackson State would probably win, because South Carolina State played the best that they had played all season, and Jackson State played the worst they had played all season. Everybody went and started jumping in again. Oh, well, he did that, but then when it was time for the big game, he crumbled. The blah, blah, blah. It was all Deion's fault. It was all Deion's fault. Never mind the fact that he almost lost his entire leg. Never mind the fact that he had to be away. And when he told people, hey, there were a couple FBS schools that came a calling, they essentially said that he was lying. Could not believe that after 2 seasons at Jackson State, somebody would want to hire Deion Sanders in their FBS team. And then this year came, and he went undefeated, impressively so. Most games not in question. And now people were saying, oh, well, maybe this Coach Prime thing is real. So he's paid his dues now, right? Because that's what they said he had to do. He had to pay his dues. He's paid his dues. He's proven that he can win at the collegiate level. He's in Alabama. He's in Mississippi, right next to Alabama. Why then wouldn't UAB call Coach Prime? I think UAB would have been a great landing spot or a great spot for him to make his next move. They didn't. They went to a high school coach with no college experience who wasn't nearly the NFL player that Deion Sanders was. Somebody make it make sense. Why is it different for Trent Dilfer than it is for Deion? Auburn hires Hugh Freeze, who had off the field issues at a college, at an SEC college, in the same conference and section of the conference as Auburn. All of that, and he still got the job. The reason they said Auburn slowed down on Coach Prime is because of issues he had years ago with his prep school. Like issues he had years ago with the prep school. Not, issues that he had, things that he did, but no, issues that the prep school had, that he was that had his name. That's what disqualified him. Oh, well, he had those issues at that prep school many years ago. What are we doing? He was just in college. He's been in college for 3 years. No issues. Graduation rates high. Money into the program. Eyes and attention on the program and the results on the field. That's the guy that's supposed to skyrocket. That's the guy that's supposed to go and get that high quality SEC job. Not saying that Hugh Freeze didn't do a great job at Liberty. He did. But we've seen that show. We know that the texting or the calling escorts, right? We know that that's not something that is we know that's not something that's going to get you fired on its face, like by itself, right? That's not going to get you fired. But there was also a lot of talk about, man, Ole Miss just got all of these players. None of these, this top recruiting class, all of these top players, how did they do it? Before NILs, right? It was before NILs. So how did they get all of these players? That's what people were asking. And where there's smoke, there's normally fire. And so, hey, let's get Hugh Freeze out of here on some, he called an escort on the school phone. Let's get him out of there. But that's going to take the smell away from, well, maybe we had some recruiting violations that nobody wants to talk about. But Hugh Freeze is back. What's different between Hugh Freeze and Coach Prime? See, I'm just here to point out the inequalities, the inconsistencies. If we're going to say, hey, man, guy can't just make that jump, then say that for everyone. Trent Dilfer shouldn't be getting this UAB job. Not after 4 years out of high school in Tennessee. Coach Prime was winning championships at a high school in Texas, where football is king. He was producing countless amounts of college talent going to the next level. He is a proven recruiter. Even before he was coaching, he was helping kids get recruited across the nation. He was a valuable resource in recruiting. I don't remember anyone ever saying any of this stuff about Trent Dilfer. Just because he was the coach of Elite 11? Who can't coach a bunch of the best talent in the country? Anybody can do that. Right? So when I think about Dilfer going, do I think about somebody that's going to kill it in recruiting? I don't know. When I think about Coach Prime, he's going to kill it in recruiting. How do I know? I've seen him. Why is it different? Why is it that when it comes to the coach and it comes to the quarterback in football, at every level, the darker the skin, the more the questions, the more the hurt, the more hurdles. I was watching the Throwing Bones episode on YouTube, and Jamel Hill said what we've said a million times. When you're black, you've got to be twice as good. Excellent is not enough. Excellent is not enough. And to do the unconventional thing is practically impossible. To do the thing that's not normal, practically impossible. But why? There was a colleague of mine who posted about Jalen Hurts and essentially said that Jalen Hurts was playing running back. I took issue, but I know the gentleman. I believe his heart's in the right place. He's trying to make a football, but the wording's wrong, right? So I just say, hey, you don't have to, but this ain't the right move. This ain't the way to go. He doubled down on it. And he was getting murdered all over, retweeted. Part of me said, man, was that real? Maybe that's what he intended to do. Maybe he just wanted to troll. See, I never got into trolling because if I say something, I mean it. I'm not saying it just to get clicks, just to get views. I'm saying it because I mean it. Well, Jalen Hurts has carried the ball more than any other quarterback has carried the ball. My argument, and many others' argument who understand football, is Jalen Hurts does whatever his team needs him to do in order to be successful. That doesn't take away from his ability to play quarterback. He tried to back out by talking about the fact that Jalen Hurts could be successful just throwing the ball. And my question is, you might be able to have individual success just throwing the football, but why should you only be limited to individual success when you can win games? Right? It's not sustainable, he said. Why not? Who says he has to run this much all the time? But as teams start to game plan to stop him as a runner, it just opens up the passing. And he throws a beautiful ball. Something which this person and many others didn't think he was going to be able to do in the NFL. This person thought he was going to be a colossal as a quarterback in the NFL. And there are receipts. I didn't feel the need to pull him. But this is the type of criticism that befalls you when you have the melanin and you play the position. And because there are more and more of us infiltrating the system at those positions, we don't get the same love. We get questions, we get criticisms. There are only 12 black head coaches in college football at the FBS level. 12. Out of 100 plus FBS programs, there are 12. Somebody make it make sense. Somebody make it make sense. You hear all of these stories about people who've been able to make meteoric rises up the ranks. None of them are black. None of them are black. Somebody name it last time, please, in the comments, wherever you leave comments at, let me know. Where have you seen somebody make the leap up who's black go from not coaching, go from not being a player, and in 5 to 6 years be a head coach at a major university? We just saw it in Arizona State. They hired an alumni. Yes, it's interesting that they framed it as if he was a player, but he wasn't. Never played football in college. Only played football in high school for a little bit before he decided he was going to be a coach. And at 32 years old, he's the head coach at Arizona State. But Brennan Marion, who's been paying his dues and fighting a good fight, a guy who's had a bunch of success as a coordinator, as a position coach at the FCS and FBS level. He's the wide receivers coach at Texas, and everybody calls it a win. This man has an offensive scheme that is being snatched up and duplicated and used at the NFL level, at the college level, at the high school level. That go-go offense. Wrote a book about it. Wildly popular book. And yet he still can't get that opportunity to be a head coach at a major Power 5 university, like a guy who's been doing this how long? For who? Ascended all the way to the top by age 32, never had to be a head coach anywhere else. And he already has a job at 32 years old. Why? Because he was able to get the quarterback that he coached at Auburn to come to Oregon and have success at Oregon in his 1 year as an offensive coordinator at Oregon. That's all it took. That's all it took. 1 year as an offensive coordinator, and he already had a head coaching job. The inconsistencies, the inequalities are right in front of us, and we choose to ignore them. And as long as we choose to ignore them, I'll be here setting this record straight, because somebody has to. And we can't do it in backdoor rooms. We can't complain to ourselves. We got to keep pushing these narratives forward in public so that everybody understands what it is. Inequality is inequality. It doesn't matter what time you live in. It doesn't matter what time you live in. Nobody's asking for a handout. Nobody's asking for a leg up. We're asking for equal footing. Equal footing as head coaches, equal footing as offensive coordinators, equal footing as quarterbacks, equal footing as commentary and as commentary people during games, equal footing in evals and on television as journalists, equal footing as sideline reporters, equal footing as beat reporters. We want it all. There is no, no, we want it all. And why shouldn't we have it all? We deserve it. I, for one, am going to continue to fight for it. I had an unfortunate gentleman put a comment on and said, as a black man, I'm tired of people taking legitimate criticism of black quarterbacks and turning it into racism. Yeah, me too. Except rarely do I actually see that happen. Usually, if someone says, hey man, this sounds racy, it's probably racy, right? If someone says, hey, this sounds homophobic, it's probably homophobic. If someone says, hey, this sounds sexist, it's probably sexist. Whether the intent of the person was to be racist or homophobic or sexist or whatever, that's beside the point. If that's what it sounds like, then it probably is. because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That means ugly is as well. Right? If beauty is in the eye of the beholder, then ugly is in the eye of the beholder as well. So if someone thinks it's racist, it doesn't matter what you think. If someone thinks it's sexist, it doesn't matter what I think. If someone thinks it's misogynistic, doesn't matter what I think. I'll never get tired of that. I'll never get tired of it. It's never going to be a time where you say, well, I come on here and go, man, I'm tired of just. No. I'm going to say what's necessary. I'm going to say what I see. I'm going to speak to it. And hopefully those who listen, those who know me, those who understand the mandate will appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.